the late 19th century, the world of boxing was captivated by a man who, despite the barriers of his time, rose to prominence with a combination of skill, strength, and an unconquerable spirit. His name is Peter Jackson. He was often referred to as the Black Prince. He was more than just a boxer. He was a trailblazer who challenged the racial prejudices of his era. Jackson's journey took him from the Caribbean to Australia, United States, and eventually to Great Britain, where his prowess in the ring earned him widespread acclaim. Standing tall at over 6 feet with a powerful physique and a masterful command of the sport, Jackson's fights were legendary. His bouts were not only athletic contests, but also symbolized the fight for racial equality and recognition. On July 1861, Peter Jackson was born in Christiansted on the island of St. Croix, then the capital of the Danish West Indies, now part of the U.S. Virgin Islands. His family hailed from Montego Bay, Jamaica. His father, also named Peter Jackson, was a warehouseman and the grandson of a freed slave, once owned by a planter named Jackson. Born a free man, young Peter was initially a Danish citizen before later becoming an Australian citizen. He received a solid primary education before taking to the seas as a mariner. Working as a deckhand in the Sydney docks from the age of 14, Jackson used his fists to subdue a rebel, an act that caught the attention of Larry Foley and launched his boxing career. In 1886, Peter Jackson claimed the Australian heavyweight title by knocking out Tom Lees in the 30th round. Trained by the Black Diamond, Jack Dowridge, a Barbadian immigrant who brought boxing to Queensland, Jackson learned alongside other notable fighters like Gentleman Jack, John Reed McGowan. After making a name for himself in Australia, Jackson set his sights on America, arriving in San Francisco on May 12, 1888. He quickly defeated Old Chocolate Godfrey to win the World-Colored Heavyweight Championship. In the U.S., Jackson often sparred with Lees and became an instructor at the California Athletic Club in San Francisco. Renowned for his footwork and technical skill, Jackson was considered one of the most scientific boxers of his time. After a year in America, Peter Jackson set off for new adventures in Great Britain. There, he fought Jim Smith for 1,000 pounds in the inaugural British Commonwealth title, winning when Smith resorted to wrestling tactics in the second round. During a brief stay in Dublin later that year, Jackson issued an open challenge to anyone who could last 4 rounds with him. Local champion Peter Marr, then just 20 years old, accepted the bet but was decisively beaten by Jackson in 3 rounds. Marr would go on to a successful career with over 100 wins. Despite talk of a rematch between Jackson and Marr in Jackson's later years, it never came to be. Peter Jackson repeatedly sought a fight with world champion John L. Sullivan, but Sullivan always refused, citing the color bar and claiming he would never fight a black man. This stance was questionable since Sullivan had previously been scheduled to fight black fighters like Old Chocolate, George Godfrey, and another fighter named Johnson, though these bouts never took place. On May 21, 1891, in Benicia, California, Jackson faced future world champion James Corbett in a grueling match that lasted 61 rounds before ending in a no contest due to both fighters being too exhausted to continue. Jackson's final defense of his Commonwealth title was against his longtime rival and fellow Australian Frank Slavin. Both had trained under Larry Foley, and a bitter feud existed between them, fueled by Slavin's racism and a romantic rivalry over a woman named Josie Leon. Although they had clashed before, this was their first and only professional bout. Jackson ultimately triumphed, knocking out Slavin in the 10th round after a fiercely contested fight. After a long break during which he only participated in exhibition matches, Jackson returned to face the tough James J. Jeffries, another future world champion, but lost to the powerfully built fighter. During his time in America, Peter Jackson gained considerable fame. He once expressed a desire to play Othello, but that dream never materialized. However, he did star in a touring production of Uncle Tom's Cabin. Despite his celebrity, Jackson faced financial problems after retiring from boxing. His health worsened quickly after his fight with James J., making it impossible for him to continue boxing. Several benefit events were organized to help him return to Australia. Peter Jackson had a record of 105 total fight, 57 wins, 29 wins by knockout, 5 losses, 15 draws, and 28 no contest. On July 13, 1901, Peter Jackson passed away from tuberculosis in Roma, Queensland, At the age of 40, Ann was buried at Toowong Cemetery. In 1908, shortly after becoming the first black heavyweight champion of the world, Jack Johnson, known as the Galveston Giant, visited Jackson's grave, demonstrating the profound respect Jackson commanded in Queensland and the boxing world. Jackson's tomb bears the inscription, "This was a man." Peter Jackson's legacy endures as a testament to his extraordinary talent and the profound impact he had on the sport of boxing.